Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Creepy Tales. This is your host, George Lunsford, and I am the Caretaker. Watched some interesting shows this weekend, and one, I won't give you the name of it, but they went into a place called the Charleston Old City Jail. Supposedly, this is one of the most haunted places in America. Well, it has a good reason to be, and I think tonight I saw that and I thought, you know what? My listeners would love this. So, let's get on into the tale. I will tell you the history behind and what dwells in Charleston Old City Jail. It's in Charleston, South Carolina. The Old City Jail is actually located in Charleston. Me and my wife were there visiting. We went to it, and we went on one of the carriage tours. And as you come around the corner of the jail, it's actually on the corner of a street. As you come around and look at the jail, it looks creepy. And the living conditions in this jail was horrible. It had no bathrooms. It had hay on the ground. Smelled horrendous. And I believe it was 4 floors high. Maybe it's 3 floors high, I'm sorry. It's 3 floors high. And it was just terrible place. It was only meant to hold, say, 150. At one time, it held up to 100 per cell. They crammed them in just like they were sticking sardines in a can. The jail was built in 1802 and held some of the most infamous criminals of that area, that time. It held prisoners from the north. It held escaped slaves. It held just robbers and criminals and pirates and just the most wretched of people at the time. And the jail was so well built that all the way up to 1939 they actually used it. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll get into one of the most famous of all the prisoners there. Now, they were only there a year, from 1819 to 1820, before they were both hung. It was John and Lavina Fisher. Lavina Fisher was the first serial killer female in America. I'll give you a little background on them real quick. And Lavina Fisher, they have no idea what her maiden name was, where she was born. They have very little information, if any at all, on her. I've looked all over the internet trying to find it. The only thing that they know is that she was born in 1793. She married a man named John Fisher. The couple lived near Charleston. Not in Charleston, they lived near Charleston. They lived in a place, and they lived and operated a little hotel called the 6 Mile Wayfarer House. They managed it starting in the early 1800s. And mysteriously, at that time in Charleston, men who were visiting Charleston were disappearing. Well, reports were filed, and authorities and everybody, was looking, trying to figure out why these men were missing. And the last place they were seen was at the 6 Mile Wayfarer House. Well, it was called that because it was actually located 6 miles outside Charleston. Though the local authorities began their investigation, there was no evidence that the Fishers were ever involved. This coupled with the fact that they were really popular in town. And basically the officials dropped the investigation towards them. And plus the fact that Lavina was a very beautiful, very charming young lady. And, guys, you know as well as I do, young lady can bat their eyes and it can change everything to you, especially when they have that that something about them, Well, women have known this forever. They use that to their advantage. Yes, ladies, I know. I'm not stupid. Well, she began to use these characteristics to help her husband rob, kill, and many of the male travelers. She would lure them in and they'd kill them and take all their stuff and dispose of the bodies. Well, the locals, a group of vigilantes went to the Fishers on February of 1819 to stop the activities that were occurring there. Even though that they went to get them, they left one guy behind. His name was David Ross, to watch over the area because they couldn't find anybody at the place, so they left him behind. Well, early the next morning, David Ross was attacked by two men, drugged before a group of men along with Lavina Fisher. He looked for her for help, but he didn't exactly get help. She began choking him and slammed his head through a window. However, Ross was able to escape and alert the authorities. I mean, this old boy was tough. She was choking him and smashed his head through a window. And those windows back then were thick. So bleeding and everything, he went to the authorities. At the same time, a man named John Peoples, Peeples, Peoples, was traveling from Georgia to Charleston, and he started getting tired along his trip, so he stopped at the 6 Mile House. Went in to find out about a room, and he was met and greeted warmly by Lavinia. She informed me, we don't have any rooms, but she invited him to sit and have tea and a meal because he was tired. Well, her company was so pleasing that he ignored her husband, sitting over on the other side, glaring at him and looking at him, and every now and then he'd chat with her. And she was asking all kinds of questions, all these different questions about him. Well, finally she excused herself from the table for a moment. She returned with tea and good news. They had a room suddenly become available. See if he wanted it. He accepted, and she poured him the tea. But, John didn't like tea. But he didn't want to be impolite or, insult her or anything. So instead of just refusing it or not touching it, as soon as she turned around and wasn't looking, he poured it out. Afterwards, she showed him to his room. He then started wondering, why was she asking him so many questions? Why? That something didn't quite feel right. He's a traveler. I mean, he's a salesman. He knew what was going on. So what John did, instead of sleeping in the bed, he thought he'd be a lot more comfortable and feel better about what was going on if he slept in the chair beside the door. Well, lucky for him, he did. Because that night he was awoken when a loud noise. He looked over where the bed was supposed to be. The bed had fell through a hole, opened up in the floor. It just fell down, and he looked, and the hole was full of spikes and stuff beneath the floor. So he quickly grabbed what he could and jumped out the window, grabbed his horse, and went to the authorities in Charleston. They arrested John and Lavina Fisher, and also the two guys that were with him. Well, they sent him to the jail. This horrible place on the second floor. And they actually stayed in the same cell. Well, in the meantime, her husband planned an escape. So they tied a bunch of sheets together, made them a rope out of it, threw it out the window, and her husband John shinnied down the rope, and as he got close to the bottom, it broke, left her trapped up in the cell. What are they gonna do now? You know, she's stuck. She can't get out. He's out. But instead of running, he returned to the jail, and they put him back together in the same cell. Well, they went to court, was found guilty, and they decided they was going to hang him. Well, they took John out first to the hanging gallows they had right there beside the jail. There's about 2,000 people had gathered in a crowd to watch the hanging of them because they were so hated after they were so beloved. So they carried him out there. John went quietly praying with the minister. Who he asked to read a letter. He read the letter and insisted he was innocent and to have mercy, and that for those who had done him wrong and all the stuff that they'd be forgiven. Well, they hung him. He's dead. Well, they went back in for Lavina. Well, she wasn't quite ready to go. She did not go as quietly as John did. She requested to wear her wedding dress, and she refused to walk to the gallows. So they picked her up and carried her as she rant and raved at the crowd. She continued to scream and pointing to all the Charleston socialites. She blamed all of them for convicting her, and she said she wasn't guilty. Right before the executioner tightened the noose around her neck, she yelled to the crowd, "If you have a message you want to send to hell, give it to me. I'll carry it." That's a horrible voice I just did, by the way. Then, before she could finish the job, she jumped off the scaffolding herself and hung herself right there on the spot. Well, the onlookers, they were onlookers at the thing. They stared at her and cheered that she was dead because they'd killed. Legend says that they killed over 100 people. Said that when they went back into the hotel, that there were spikes and stuff built into the floor, to where when the floor dropped, whoever was on the bed would land on the spikes, it would kill them. There were reports of they found all the bodies and stuff underneath the hotel. They found people's heads gone. They found, it looked like suffocation with a rope around their neck. Just lots and lots of poisonings. She put poison in the tea that she would serve them. Not nice people. Well, they pretty much got what they got. Well, at the Old County Jail in Charleston, they say her ghost is still there. That she still haunts that place. That when you have to watch when you go there for tours, because you hear the prisoners. You can smell, in certain areas you can smell what they were going through. They said you could actually see Lavina's full-figured ghost moving through the second floor. The third floor that held the worst of them all, they said there that people have been scratched, deep, gouging scratches, that people felt like they were almost on fire. People have been touched, grabbed. The windows have shut by themselves. You can hear chains at night. You can see figures moving past the windows. That's what they say about this place. And they also say that there were pirates brought to the jail some of the worst pirates of the area, that little bit of area right there. They were, and then there was also, they were brought there to await hanging, and they were also hanged there after trial. They brought a man by the name of Denmark Vesey's. He had planned a slave revolt and was caught and sent here. Apparently, they say that even though he was a good-sized man and everything else, that he was treated really bad by not only the prison guards while were there, but also the other prisoners. They say his ghost still wanders through. Now, he was a strong man. He was a carpenter and everything, so he was treated really badly when he died. There was another one that was also hung. Well, they also used some of the slaves that were in the movie Glory, that the movie was about. Some of those were actually put in that prison when they were captured after the battle. Well, I think we may have covered the old county jail, the old city jail, pardon me, in Charleston. Maybe we need to take a different route now. Maybe what we should do is talk about the Gullah. The Gullahs are the people in Charleston. They were slaves that were brought over from West Africa, and they're still there. They over in the market. They still make the baskets, and if you ever get a chance to talk to them. Maybe you want to ask a little bit about a character called the Boo Hag. The Boo Hag is a story as a creature, and it comes from the Gullahs. And the Gullahs talk about a Boo Hag. A Boo Hag is kind of like a vampire. Okay? It's an undead being that feeds off the living people. Now, these things are skinless, so they're bright red in color. They have bulging blue veins, and they only survive in the world of the living because they steal a living person's skin and wear it like clothing. Well, not only do you gotta worry about the ghost over at the old city jail, but now you gotta worry about when you're at home, the Boo Hag coming for you. Well, the Boo Hags, they come for you. They come for you at night. They come through slightly open windows or cracks in the wall. Once inside, they'll sit on the sleeping victim's chest, and they start stealing your breath and your life essence as they sit upon your chest. You're sitting there, you're asleep. You start feeling funny. You can't breathe good. Your chest is heavy. It's tight, and if you open your eyes, there's a Boo Hag on you. This red creature with bulging blue veins and just white and black eyes sitting on your chest. Now, the little thing about the Boo Hag, most of them don't tell you. They'll stay on you as long as they possibly can, but they have to be gone before dawn. They have to. Alright, what a Boo Hag does, let me give you a little bit more of a breakdown so you have a better idea. A Boo Hag wears the skin during the day. It will walk around town, and it's human skin. Well, at night, it sheds that skin. It takes off into the night, flying through the air. Spots the open window, comes in the open window, sits upon the victim's chest, stealing his breath and his life essence. But they have to be real careful, because if they're not gone by morning, the sun will kill the Boo Hag. It will destroy it. It will basically explode in midair. The Boo Hag has to make it back to get back inside its human skin before daylight. Now you're thinking, crap, what am I going to do? How am I going to stop a Boo Hag from coming to get me? Well, let me tell you. There's a couple ways to stop a Boo Hag. One way, oh, let me mention one other thing I forgot to mention. If a boo hag is there, you have warning signs. First, the air will become very hot and damp. Second, the air will smell like something rotting. Okay, now you know what you're looking for. You know how to find it. You know what's going on with it. Now you gotta figure out how to stop it. Boo hags are not without their weaknesses. First, like other evil spirits, the gullah culture they're repelled by the color indigo blue. So if you paint the tops of your windows, your window frames, indigo blue, the boo hags will not be able to enter that window. Salt's another good boo hag repellent. A salted hag cannot get back into its skin and will explode in the sunlight. But it's kind of hard to throw salt on a boo hag. Oh, but is it? See, the thing about boo hags is to keep a straw broom or a brush with as many bristles as you can. Boo hags have OCD. They are very curious and compulsive. If you lay a broom or a brush over it with lots and lots of bristles, they'll stop and count it. And if you can find a boo hag counting it as fast as they can, you can chunk the salt on them and they'll take off and die. But if not, they'll get you. If you wake up and discover a boo hag on your chest, it's best not to fight. If you fight, the boo hag might steal your skin. This has been George Lunsford of Creepy Tales. Thank you for listening. And as of August 15th, or 14th, excuse me, as of August 14th, remember, my book will be available. The name of my book is Legends, Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts, the Southern Edition, Volume 1. Look for it at Amazon and Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere that carries books. They'll have my book will be available. You may have to order it, or they may have it on the shelf. That'd be up to the store itself. Well, thank you very much for your time. Sleep well. Watch out for the ghost. And remember, put the indigo blue above your window, or you may be visited by a boo hag. Good night.